Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, good day. Welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. Let's take a look at blood sugars. Current blood sugar sitting at 5.3, fully calibrated, zero carbs. I haven't had lunch yet. I really haven't been desired to eat is gone. But the pump is keeping me well in control. Hopefully I'll have a positive outcome, but we'll see. I had some calibration late last night, or correction, not calibration, because calibration is there, and all is all. Now, if we switch over to today, there's no way of hiding this. 100%. Da, 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 da. So, average sugars above 10 was 0, below 3.9 was 0. So that means I stayed within range for 100%. I told you this before, and hopefully you keep that in mind. Celebrate the wins. This is an excellent win. 6.3 is the average sugar. So all in all, pretty good day. Doesn't help I'm not eating much, but that's another story. Today, I want to discuss things as a diabetic I have done wrong. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Okay, next story. This one was a story that started many months before it actually happened. And I lost my service dog over this. And to this day, that really is upsetting. I began to have swelling in my right hand, right foot. And it progressed up the leg. And I went to emergency about it, and they gave me drugs, and things weren't working. And finally, sores broke out. And I just kept following, do this, do that. And I finally went to my doctor and I said, well, these wounds aren't really progressing. I know I'm a diabetic, but these things aren't aren't curing. So he said, well, let's send you to a wound care clinic. So I went to my wound care clinic, and they took a look at it and said, okay, I think we're going to start you on IV antibiotics. And I thought, okay, yes, we've done this route before, but we're going to put skin tag over it or something so that, you don't get dirty. And I went, and I think this is the second time. I don't remember if I did or not, but I did think I gave my shot. And I was on the pump, so I probably didn't. I had my pump, wherever it is, there it is. And, I probably disconnected to reconnect. But and I walked around, my blood sugar. Now, next, I've told this story on this channel before, but this time I forgot to give my insulin. This is the second time, and this is the only time I can remember doing it. I've been late with insulin, but this time I just totally forgot. And the sad thing about it, I had the insulin pump. And I took everything off to go have a shower. And I know this is waterproof and everything wonderful, except I still take it off for showers. So I took it off and I started roaming around the apartment. I wasn't thinking correctly because I had my leg infection. And this infection had happened months beforehand. And it just kept progressing and it wasn't curing. We went through an awful lot of treatment. And I just started walking around. A friend of mine, I don't know if I called a friend or he called me, but he suddenly said, "You don't sound right. Maybe you should call an ambulance." And I said, No, I'm going to have a shower. I hung up. And within 20 minutes, he was at my door. So I let him in. And the old thing, what are you doing here? And he said I just wasn't right. And I wandered around the apartment. To me, this old diabetic brain, I was stubborn. I don't need to go. I've tried to be more acceptant, but he said, I'm going to call an ambulance, lie down on the bed. So I laid down on the bed, the ambulance showed up, and they took a blood sugar and it just ran high. So it was over 33.3. So I probably took off my pump and just, I have to eat, and tried to do everything. My service dog at the time was following me, and everything didn't really fall into place like it should. They came, as I said, did a blood sugar. They said, oh, you need to go to the hospital. I guess my ketones started to do that. I describe it as funky, juicy fruit gum smell. And my friend said, okay, go. This friend happened to be my power of attorney, so it was no question. I went and they put me on a stretcher to take me downstairs, and then I had to transfer on to another stretcher because it wouldn't fit into the elevator. And there were people coming and going in our apartment building, and I was going, yeah, okay, wonderful. But we got transferred over. They took me into the hospital. Now, this hospital visit was something different. They realized I had an infection. They realized I was in DKA. So IVs were started, and I had two. I had one for antibiotics and one for insulin. And I was fine. I was in a very private room that I don't know why I was put in there, but I guess I was that sick. And I was admitted, and I don't remember. I went to sleep, and I woke up in this dark room. I didn't know where I was, which was probably the infection and everything talking. And I started to do that yell that everyone goes to old age homes or my residence, but you could hear people yelling. And I thought, where the fuck am I? And finally, a nurse came in and said, be quiet. And the next thing I knew, I probably just shut up for a bit. But the next thing, they came in and they deciding things and what to do with me. And I was stripped, and they cleaned me up, and I saw the room, and I knew this room. I'd been in this room before, and it was a high acuity unit, and they got things going. I was discharged to the ward after, I'd probably say, a day. It seemed very quick. I was put into a ward, and then I ended up staying there until March. This was the end of November. So again, not giving insulin can have real life problems. If I really get anxious now if I forgot to give a shot or to give my dose. The pump has alleviated this quite a bit. The pump, as long as I'm connected or have the Omnipod, if you're an Omnipod user, you're pretty well protected from going into DKA. You still may not feel the greatest, but you can make mistakes by giving too much insulin, not giving enough, not eating after a shot. That's why I say the pumps are great. If you don't feel like eating, they'll keep you in line. If they don't, then your pump's set too high. But I gave myself a shot, and that was it. I ended up in the hospital, and I did give myself a shot. For not giving myself a shot, I ended up in the hospital. So try to get into a routine that you know that you've given yourself a shot, and that's going to be the best for you. It's amazing how one little thing that you don't think, I've had my insulin, I'll make it to work and then I'll eat. No, I can remember my mother saying to me one day, I was going out somewhere with friends, and she said, well, do you have something sweet to eat? And I said, no, but I have money. Doesn't work, guy or girl. Doesn't work. So, allowing you to be the best you can be is have an emergency kit with you with pump supplies and insulin. When you go out, it can be a small bag. I have mine in a backpack, and it can easily be put on the back of my chair. And if I head out, I know that if I run into problems with that, I'm going to not have an issue. So remember this. Take time for yourself. As diabetics, we always seem to be chasing reality, chasing what everyone else is doing, because we have to live up to their visions. But sometimes you need to take control of yourself. With that, we're going to call it a day, and we'll talk to you again soon. Have a great day. Bye now. My email address is Mike's Diabetes World at gmail.com. All one line. Drop me